Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're tackling something that makes even the most outgoing people feel a little weak in the knees sometimes. How to talk to anyone with genuine, unshakable confidence.
Mm-hmm.
We've all felt that pit in our stomach, right? Walking into a room full of strangers. Could be a massive conference or, just a friend of a friend's party.
Oh, definitely. That feeling of, oh, God, what do I say? Or, please, nobody notice how nervous I am.
Yeah.
It's training.
It really is. Okay, let's unpack this. The pressure, the social pressure, it feels immense. But our sources, especially this guide, Confident Communication, they argue we've kind of misunderstood what confidence actually is. It's not some fixed personality trait you're born with.
Exactly. And that's really the mission here in this deep dive. We want to show you, the listener, that confidence is actually a skill set, something you can build.
Right.
It's built on prep, a deliberate shift in how you think about things, and honestly, some surprisingly simple techniques. The goal is to help you shift from feeling like you're under a microscope
Scrutinized.
to actually making genuine connections. So we really have to start with the psychology, because that internal monologue, that voice in your head, it's usually the biggest barrier.
Totally.
Most people feel that intense social anxiety because, their default setting is assuming everyone else is judging them, judging their clothes or if they stutter or what they do for a living.
And that assumption is it's a recipe for disaster, like the source says.
Yeah.
Silently catastrophic.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it's exhausting. So the sources say the foundational shift, the big change, is to actively replace that thought.
Okay. How?
Instead of thinking, they're judging me, you deliberately think, okay, this person is probably failing. They might even feel a bit awkward, too. They're probably open to meeting someone new.
That makes sense. But what about that inner critic? It's loud. Can things like mindfulness really help quiet it down? Because just telling it to shut up doesn't seem to work.
No, you don't fight it directly. You kind of observe it. The sources suggest even 5 minutes a day of mindfulness, just noticing your thoughts without getting hooked by them. That practice helps you in the moment during conversations.
Okay.
So when that critical thought pops up mid-sentence, like, oh, that sounded stupid, you can recognize it, acknowledge it almost, and then gently shift your focus back outward to the actual person you're talking to, instead of letting that voice hijack the whole interaction.
Right, creating a bit of distance. Okay. And speaking of hijacking, there was this really practical trick in the sources about reframing anxiety, turning it into excitement. That kind of blew my mind.
Yes, because physiologically, your body's reaction to dread and anticipation, it's almost identical.
The racing heart, the adrenaline.
Exactly the same biological stuff going on. So the trick is you consciously hijack that response. Before you walk into that room, take a few deep breaths and actually tell yourself, maybe even mutter it quietly, I'm not nervous, I'm pumped, I'm excited to meet people.
Okay. Does it work?
It can. Surprisingly well. That simple verbal reframing can really dial down the emotional intensity right then and there.
But does that, last? Or is it just a quick fix? Because the sources also really hammered home the importance of preparation, that real confidence comes from doing your homework, not just positive self-talk.
That's a great point. It's sustainable because it connects to preparation. Look, confident conversation often isn't spontaneous magic. It's prepared.
Right.
If you go in knowing you've researched the event, maybe you looked up a few attendees, and you have 2 or 3 solid conversation starters ready, we call them emergency parachutes.
Emergency parachutes, I like that.
Then the mental effort needed to project confidence, to fake it initially, it drops dramatically. You're relying on your prep, not just raw nerve. And of course, acting confident, physically standing tall, eye contact, smiling, that signals approachability. People react positively to that, which then boosts your actual internal feeling of confidence. It's a feedback loop.
Okay, so we've tackled the internal battleground. Now let's look outward. Here's where it gets really interesting. The sources stress that the best way to handle social situations confidently isn't about being dazzlingly witty yourself. It's about brilliant listening. Why is active listening such a game changer?
Because it completely flips the whole dynamic. It takes all the pressure off you.
How so?
Most of us think we need to be the interesting one. We feel this pressure to, share amazing stories or impressive facts about ourselves. But the reality is, people generally love talking about themselves, their passions, their experiences.
That's true.
So your job isn't to perform. It's simply to be genuinely interested and help them have a good conversation. Make them feel heard.
Okay, so what does active listening actually look like? It's more than just nodding politely while planning your next sentence.
Oh, absolutely not. That's just waiting to talk. Active listening, based on the sources, has maybe three core parts. First, you have to truly listen. Shut down the mental rehearsal.
Harder than it sounds.
It is. Second, show real curiosity. Ask open-ended follow-up questions, questions that dig a bit deeper into something they just mentioned. And third, occasionally summarize what they've said.
Summarize, like repeat it back.
Not word for word necessarily, more like capturing the essence or the feeling. Saying something like, wow, so it sounds like you felt really passionate about that project. Or, okay, so the main challenge was X. It shows you're not just hearing the words, you're understanding the meaning behind them. It shows real engagement.
Okay, that makes sense. And this helps us move past those dead-end questions, right? The usual, what do you do, or where are you from? That often just fizzle out. What kind of questions actually get people talking about things they care about?
They're usually questions that ask why or how. So instead of just, what do you do? Maybe try, what's the most interesting challenge you're tackling at work right now? Or what do you love doing when you're not working? What is it about that activity that really grabs you? You're digging for the story, the passion behind the job title or the hobby.
That focus on them, that genuine curiosity, it feels like a superpower. There was that great anecdote in the source material, remember, about the person stuck talking to the competitive vegetable grower.
Oh yeah, the giant zucchini guy.
Right. Now, on the surface, that sounds like, well, potentially 40 minutes of pain unless you're really into horticulture.
Exactly. But the person telling the story realized, okay, I don't need to know about carrots. I just need to be curious about this guy's passion. So they started asking about the process, the science behind it, the dedication, the failures, what makes a prize-winning vegetable. And they got genuinely fascinated. For 40 minutes. It wasn't about the vegetable. It was about the person's commitment. They connected. They loved feeling energized, not drained from trying to seem interesting.
Yeah.
And, that connection, that engagement we were just talking about, it often starts before you even say a word. That's where body language comes in.
Yeah.
Your nonverbal cues, they speak volumes. They set the stage for confidence instantly.
Okay, let's break that down. If you're walking into a room wanting to signal confidence and openness, what are the key physical things?
Well, posture is huge. Standing tall, shoulders back, none of that slouching. Using open gestures, palms slightly up, maybe rather than crossing your arms, which looks defensive.
The barrier.
Exactly. And you have to be really mindful of fidgeting. Shaking your leg, fiddling with a pen, constantly glancing at your phone. Those are all little signals of nervousness that totally undermine your words. You have to consciously notice them and, stop, plant your feet, relax your hands.
Okay. And then eye contact. This one's tricky. Crucial for showing you're engaged and respectful, but too much is creepy staring, and too little seems like you're hiding something or just not interested. How do you find that sweet spot?
Yeah, it's a balance. The sources suggest aiming for about 50 to 70% eye contact during a one-on-one conversation.
50 to 70. Okay. Any tricks for making that feel less like a staring contest?
There's a good one. Focus on one of the person's eyes for a few seconds, then gently switch your focus to their other eye. Maybe glance briefly at their mouth when they speak. To them, it just looks like natural, attentive eye contact, but it breaks that intense, locked-on feeling for you.
That's clever. And smiling. Seems simple, but it's powerful, isn't it?
Incredibly powerful. It's pretty much universal. It's contagious. It makes you instantly seem more approachable, more friendly. Plus, there's that neat little biofeedback loop. The physical act of smiling actually releases endorphins, which can genuinely lift your own mood and make the interaction feel better from the inside out.
Good point.
But we have to add a really important caveat here. Cultural differences. Body language isn't universal. What signals confidence in one culture might be rude in another.
Right. The sources mention Japan, for example, where sustained direct eye contact can be seen as too intense.
Exactly. In cultures like that, brief glances, more nodding, maybe focusing more on the group if you're in one, those are often more appropriate and respectful. The key is observation and adaptation.
But how do you know? How do you observe that in the moment without making it weird?
You look for cues from the other person. Mirroring, basically. If you notice they aren't holding your gaze for long, if they glance away frequently, if they rely more on nods, and take that as your signal. Relax your direct gaze a bit. Adapt to their style. A truly confident communicator isn't rigid. They read the room, they adjust.
Okay, let's talk about the messy middle. The bits everyone dreads. Awkward silences. Saying the wrong thing, making a mistake. That pressure to be perfect is often what tanks our confidence, right?
Absolutely. And the first hurdle is the silence. We panic when there's a pause. We feel this desperate need to fill it, usually with something, well, meaningless.
Yeah, just babbling.
Right. But the sources say a confident person is actually comfortable with a bit of silence. It's not a failure. It's processing time. It gives you a moment to think. You can even acknowledge it.
What could you say if someone asks you a tough question and your mind goes blank for a second?
Instead of stammering, you can just calmly say something like, that's a really interesting question. Let me think about that for a moment. Or, wow, okay, that's given me something to consider. It shows you value the question and you're thoughtful, not just fast.
Okay, that feels manageable. And then there's vulnerability. The sources had that amazing story. The person who was trying so hard to impress and then, whoops, spilled a whole tray of, was it quiches or water?
Something like that. Mini quiches, I think. A total disaster scenario on paper, right?
Mortifying.
Completely. But their recovery was apparently brilliant.
It was, because instead of freezing up or apologizing profusely and trying to disappear, they just burst out laughing, genuinely laughing at themselves, and said something like, well, that's one way to make an entrance. And instantly the tension broke. Everyone laughed with them. That raw, authentic moment of imperfection created way more connection, more rapport than any perfectly smooth introduction ever could have. Authenticity is magnetic. Honesty pulls people in. So that willingness to be, well, human, fallible, it applies to knowledge too. Like if you don't know the answer to something, don't bluff.
Definitely don't bluff. That usually backfires. The confident move, the source suggests, is combining humility with resourcefulness. Just say, that's a great question. And honestly, I don't have that answer right off the top of my head, but I'd be happy to look into it for you. Or I know someone who's an expert in that. I could connect you.
Okay.
It shows you're secure enough to admit you don't know everything, but you're also helpful and capable of finding solutions. That's confidence.
And what about when the conversation turns to criticism? Maybe someone's giving you feedback on your work or an idea you shared. The gut reaction is usually defensiveness.
It is, but defensiveness just slams the door shut. A much more confident approach is to try and separate the message from the messenger, even if it feels personal. Focus only on the information and the feedback.
How do you do that without arguing?
Ask clarifying questions. Instead of, you're wrong, try something like, thanks for that feedback. To help me understand better, could you tell me more about what specifically didn't work for you? Or what part of the execution felt off? It shows you're open to learning and improving, which is incredibly confident. It signals growth matters more to you than being right in that moment.
That makes sense. Okay, last tricky bit. Sometimes you just don't click with someone. The conversation's painful, it's going nowhere. Do you just suffer through it?
Please don't. That's just draining your energy and wasting everyone's time. Confident people know how to make a polite exit.
What does that sound like?
Something simple and gracious. Well, it's been really interesting chatting with you, but I see someone over there I need to catch before they head out. Or just, I should probably mingle a bit more, but it was great meeting you. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Be polite. Excuse yourself. And go find people you do connect with. Don't take the lack of connection personally. Sometimes it just doesn't happen. Hashtag take tag outro. So what does this all mean? If we boil everything down from the sources, the core message seems to be this. Conversational confidence isn't magic. It's built. It comes from doing your homework preparation. It comes from genuine curiosity about other people. And it comes from accepting your own authenticity, flaws, and all.
Right.
It's a journey, It takes practice. Like building any muscle, you build these social muscles through small, consistent efforts.
Exactly. And let's bust that myth that only extroverts nail this stuff. Introverts often have a huge advantage because they tend to be naturally better listeners, more observant, more thoughtful before they speak. Quality over quantity, right? Which is exactly what the sources emphasize.
Totally agree.
But maybe the most profound takeaway, the thing that really stuck with me from confident communication and the other materials, is that the real key to connecting confidently isn't trying to be perfect or brilliant. It's actually having the courage to be openly, fallibly human.
Vulnerability is strength.
Yeah, that vulnerability, handled well, it just builds instant rapport. It lets the other person lower their guard too. So maybe the final thought for you, the listener, is this. How might embracing one of your own small imperfections, maybe that awkward pause you dread, or admitting you don't know something, how might that be the most powerful way to draw someone in during your next conversation? Maybe think of that honesty, that willingness to just be human as your secret superpower.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We often talk about starting conversations, but Sometimes the real hard part is what comes next, right?
Right, exactly. You get the ball rolling, you exchange the basics job, where you're from, maybe the weather,
Yeah, the usual suspect.
and then you just hit a wall. You're stuck repeating the same stuff.
It's like you're trapped in what our sources call small talk purgatory.
That's such a good way to put it. It's that feeling of, just swapping facts, but not really connecting.
Right. And that's what we're diving into today.
Yeah, the material we're looking at is really clear on this. Conversational confidence. It's not some magic you're born with.
Thankfully.
It's a skill set. You can learn structures, techniques. Anyone can get better at it. So our mission really is to give you those practical tools.
Tools to make interactions feel more, meaningful, memorable.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Less purgatory, more connection.
I like that framing.
Yeah.
Take the pressure off, And the main idea, the sort of guiding metaphor in the sources, is this ladder of confident conversation.
Explain that a bit.
Well, you start at the bottom, right? The safe zone, facts, surface stuff.
Okay. Like the weather, your job title.
Exactly. And the goal is to climb, like gently, but with purpose, up towards sharing opinions, maybe feelings, experiences, the more personal rungs.
Okay, so how do you actually start climbing? You can't just jump from past the canapes to what are your deepest regrets?
Definitely not. That would be alarming.
Yeah.
So this first crucial step, let's call it crossing the bridge, moving from just facts to someone's perspective.
Okay, how's that done?
It really comes down to the questions we ask. We tend to default to questions that just invite another fact, which, keeps you stuck on that bottom rung.
Slams the door shut again.
Right. The key is shifting to gentle, open-ended questions, the kind that sort of require the other person to share a little bit of their viewpoint.
Okay, so give me an example. Like, instead of just, you're a graphic designer.
Yeah, that's just a fact check.
No.
Instead, you could ask something like, what's your favorite part about the whole creative process? Or maybe, what's a design trend right now that you just love or totally hate?
Ah, I see. So you're not asking what they do, but how they feel about what they do or their take on it?
Exactly. You're inviting them up the ladder with you. It's an invitation for their opinion.
And then, this is important, it becomes a bit of a dance, right?
Yes. The sources call it the dance of reciprocity. Once they share that perspective, that opinion.
The ball's back in your court.
Right. You have to share something back. A related thought, maybe a similar feeling or opinion.
It's about showing that common ground, that moment of shared humanity, as the source puts it.
A moment of shared humanity. I like that.
Yeah, so if they rant about some annoying design trend, you don't just nod, you chime in with, that actually reminds me of this terrible jargon everyone's using at my office.
Okay. So you connect their experience to one of yours.
You're moving beyond just job titles or surface facts. You're sharing a little bit of vulnerability, a micro-vulnerability.
Yeah, micro-vulnerability. Let's unpack that. Sounds a bit clinical.
Yeah, maybe a little. But it just means a small, deliberate disclosure, sharing a feeling or an opinion that, has a tiny bit of social risk. Like, they might disagree, but it signals you're open to connecting.
So saying, I find that trend annoying too, is a micro-vulnerability.
Kind of, yeah, because you're putting your opinion out there, but then by reciprocating, by sharing your own related small frustration, you show them, hey, I get it, we're on the same page here.
It builds trust.
Exactly. That reciprocity is like the rope tying you together on that ladder rung. If you only ask questions and never share anything yourself.
You become an interviewer?
Right. Not a conversation partner, big difference.
That's a really useful distinction.
Yeah.
Okay, but sometimes you start climbing that ladder and you realize the person you're talking to isn't reciprocating in a good way. They're just draining.
Ah, the dreaded energy vampires.
Yes. We need to talk about them. How do you handle those?
They're definitely out there. And the sources we looked at identify 3 classic difficult types you run into. They need a bit of conversational judo, let's say.
Judo. Okay, I'm intrigued. Who are these classic types?
So you've got the complainer, the interrupter, and the know-it-all.
Oh boy. I think I know people in all 3 categories.
Right. We all do. And the key is having strategies to manage them without being rude yourself, but also without getting, sucked into their negativity or their vortex.
Okay, let's start with the complainer, the one who just brings this constant stream of negativity. Everything is wrong. The sky is falling.
Yeah, and the big trap there is feeling like you have to solve their problems or jump into the negativity pit with them, which just encourages more complaining.
Right, it fuels the fire.
So the technique here is acknowledge and then pivot. 2 steps.
Acknowledge and pivot.
Okay. First, You have to validate their feeling, briefly. Let them feel heard. A simple, wow, that sounds really challenging, or gosh, I'm sorry you're having such a tough day with all that.
Okay, so you offer some empathy, but wait, doesn't that feel a bit fake? If you're just going to change the subject immediately, are you really being authentic?
That's a really fair point, but I think the way to frame it isn't about being inauthentic, it's about setting an authentic boundary.
What boundary?
Okay, you're not saying their problem isn't real or doesn't matter. You're saying authentically, I am choosing not to dwell in this negative space right now. Your validation is authentic empathy.
And a pivot is the boundary.
Exactly. After that brief validation, you gently but firmly change the channel. Something like, wow, that does sound heavy. Hey, on a completely different note, I was just admiring that painting over there. Or whatever seems natural.
So you're taking control of the conversation's direction without dismissing them.
Right. You're protecting the interaction's energy.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, what about the interrupter? This one drives me nuts. You can never actually finish a sentence.
So frustrating. For this one, the technique is the polite reclaim.
Polite reclaim. Okay.
And the sources point out a lot of interrupters aren't trying to be malicious. They might just be really eager, or maybe not great listeners.
Or both.
Or both, yeah. So the key here is your delivery. Needs to be assertive, but still sound collaborative, not aggressive.
Easier said than done, maybe?
Yeah.
What does that actually sound like? Interrupting an interrupter feels risky.
It feels high stakes, I get it. But it's important for, maintaining your own space in the conversation. You need a calm, steady tone. If they jump in, maybe don't stop talking immediately. Sometimes they back off.
Right.
If they don't, then you use a phrase like, that's a great point, and just to finish my thought on X quickly, or maybe hold that thought for 1 sec. I just wanted to quickly wrap this up.
With a smile, maybe.
Yeah, a little smile helps. The goal isn't to shut them down angrily, but to signal, hey, my point has value too, let me finish.
And the payoff is you sort of train them.
In a way, yeah. You teach them that interrupting you doesn't really work, but you do it without making it a big confrontation. It takes practice, for sure.
I bet. Okay, last one. The know-it-all. The person who has to be the expert on everything. Arguing is pointless.
Totally pointless. Arguing just gives them the stage they want, right? Their main drive is often needing to feel smart, needing that status.
So you can't challenge them directly.
Nope. So bypass the argument. Steer their expertise instead. The technique is validate and inquire.
Validate and inquire. Similar start to the complainer strategy.
Kind of. You first feed that need for respect. A little validation. Wow, you've clearly put a lot of thought into this, or that's a really interesting perspective. You obviously know your stuff.
So stroke the ego a tiny bit.
Gently, yes. Validate their knowledge. But then you inquire. You ask a question that broadens things out or shifts the focus slightly, but still lets them be the expert.
Okay, like what?
So if they're just rattling off stats about, say, the economy, instead of saying, are you sure about that number? You could say, given your understanding of all that data, what do you see as the biggest challenge coming down the pike in the next few years?
So you steer them towards prediction or a broader view?
Exactly. You let them keep their expert hat on, but you guide the conversation somewhere potentially more interesting for everyone else and less like a lecture.
That's quite clever. It's like conversational Aikido or something, using their energy.
That's a great way to think about it. It is exhausting just thinking about juggling these personalities, isn't it?
It really is. But I can see how having those little structures, those go-to responses, actually saves you energy in the long run.
Definitely. Now let's shift gears a bit. Away from managing others and back to how we present ourselves. The sources really stress this. Confident people. They don't just state facts about themselves. They tell little stories.
Right. Makes them more memorable, more engaging.
Totally. Think about it. Someone asks what you did last weekend. Saying, I went for a hike is fine, but it's forgettable.
Puts all the work on the listener to ask follow-up questions.
Exactly. Whereas telling a tiny story, even about something mundane, that's where the connection happens. And the sources give us a super simple structure for this.
Yes, the secret formula. It's brilliant because it's so easy to remember.
It is situation, conflict, resolution. That's it.
Situation, conflict, resolution. 3 parts.
It injects a little narrative arc, a mini drama, into everyday stuff.
Okay, let's use that hike example again. How would that sound using the formula?
All right. So instead of, I went for a hike, you start with the situation. I decided to finally check out that new trail everyone's been talking about up near Bear Mountain. Sets the scene.
Okay, got the situation. Then the conflict, the little problem. Doesn't have to be huge, right?
Not at all. Just a little tension, conflict. But about halfway up, the trail markers just vanished. I spent like 20 minutes totally turned around, convinced I was going to be wandering in circles forever.
Huh. Okay. Creates a little image. And finally, the payoff. The resolution.
The resolution. But then, totally by accident, I stumbled onto this incredible hidden waterfall, like this amazing view I never would have found if I hadn't gotten slightly lost. Happy accident.
See, that's so much better. Same basic event, went for a hike, but now I know something about you. Maybe you're a bit adventurous, or you can roll with things when they go wrong.
Exactly. It gives the listener multiple things to connect with. They could ask about the waterfall, or share their own story about getting lost, or talk about happy accidents.
You've given them hooks.
Hooks, exactly. That little 30-second story, it reveals a sliver of your character, and it practically invites them to share something back. You've moved way past facts and into, shared human experience.
Love that. Okay, moving towards the final stages. Getting into and out of conversations, especially in groups. This is a big anxiety trigger for a lot of people, right? Approaching that group is already talking and laughing.
Oh, yeah. The impenetrable circle fear. It's huge. You worry you'll look awkward just hovering there, or worse, like you're rudely barging in.
So what's the strategy? The sources must have advice here.
They do, and the number one rule is don't just barge in. Confidence here isn't loudness. It's about being strategic. Doing a little recon first.
Reconnaissance.
Okay.
Like a spy.
Sort of. You approach the group slowly, maybe stand near the edge. But you're not just lurking. You're actively listening.
Gathering intel.
Exactly. What's the topic? What's the vibe? Is it serious? Are they joking around? You need that data before you jump in.
Makes sense. Understand the terrain first. Then what? You've listened, you get the topic. How do you actually enter?
You wait for a natural pause. Maybe someone finishes a story, or there's a lull, or even a burst of laughter that can be a good moment.
Okay, find the opening.
And while you're waiting, try to make eye contact with someone who seems friendly, maybe smile. Find your in.
Your social anchor. Like that.
Yeah. Then, when you do speak, your first contribution needs to bridge you in. It should be relevant to what they were just talking about. Less, here I am, and more, oh, you were talking about X.
So connect to their conversation first.
Right. For example, sorry to sort of over here, but did I hear you guys talking about that new sci-fi movie? I just saw it last week and felt the same way about the ending.
Ah, so you're adding to their flow, not starting your own tangent immediately.
Exactly. You become part of the existing conversation, not an interruption to it. Much smoother entry.
That's a great practical tip. Okay, so we've gotten in, we've maybe shared a mini story. Now, getting out gracefully. Confidence isn't just starting well, it's ending well too.
Yeah.
Right. Avoiding that awkward fade out.
Oh, the slow fade is the worst. It leaves everyone feeling weird. Like, did I say something wrong? Was I boring?
Yeah, that social ambiguity.
Confident people, the sources say, they own their exit. It doesn't have to be dramatic, just clear and warm.
So, a definitive closing line without needing some elaborate excuse.
Exactly. Keep it simple, positive, and make it clear you're moving on. Something like, well, hey, it's been really great chatting with you.
Start with appreciation.
Yeah. Then state your next action. I'm going to go grab another drink, or I need to catch my friend before they leave, or even just, I should mingle a bit more.
Okay.
And then a simple closing wish. Hope you enjoy the rest of the event, or great talking to you. Done.
Clean, polite, no ambiguity.
Right. You're signaling the interaction was good, and now it's concluded. It's a subtle thing, but controlling your exit, that reads as high social confidence.
It really does.
Yeah.
You know, when you put all these pieces together, inviting perspective, managing the difficult ones, telling small stories, entering and exiting with intention, it really does all come back to that word, intentionality.
Yeah. It's about bringing structure to something that often feels chaotic and unpredictable.
You're intentionally climbing the ladder, intentionally setting those boundaries with the energy vampires, intentionally sharing a bit of yourself through narrative.
And realizing these are learnable skills, not just innate charisma. That takes so much of the fear away, doesn't it? It's not about being magically witty. It's about using proven social formulas.
Absolutely. Okay, so for you listening, here's the challenge for this week. Don't try to overhaul everything at once. Just pick one thing.
One small step.
Maybe try framing one simple thing from your date, your commute, making dinner, using that situation conflict resolution structure. Just practice that 30-second narrative.
Or maybe try the acknowledge and pivot next time you encounter a complainer. See how it feels?
Just one technique.
And, thinking about all this raises a final kind of provocative thought, maybe. If we master these structures, we start to see that conversation isn't just about swapping information efficiently.
What is it about then?
It's about the deliberate back and forth sharing of these small narratives, these little disclosures, specifically designed to build trust and connection. So the question for you to ponder is, looking at all these techniques, which structure, which technique seems most surprising or maybe most useful for you in building that essential connection? Welcome back to the deep dive. So today we're kind of moving past the usual communication 101 stuff, the grammar, the structure basics. We're diving deep into what genuine influence looks like. Our sources are pretty clear. Real success isn't just the script, it's embodying confidence and using some specific frameworks to handle those really tough professional moments.
That's exactly it. That's the core mission here. We often think, advanced communication, that means like bigger words, but it's really more about strategic transparency and precision. We're looking for those specific tools that take you from just being a competent speaker to someone who's actually memorable, someone who can command a room.
Right. So our goal for you listening is to leave with practical stuff you can use, how to communicate your internal experience, the why behind things. Also, how to strategically build momentum after you meet someone, networking-wise. And the frameworks you absolutely need when the stakes are high, like giving feedback or asking for a raise.
Yeah, absolutely. But first, we need to set the stage a little. The confidence we're discussing, it's rooted in connection and value. This whole dive is really about that critical shift. When you stop focusing only on what you did and start communicating the core self, the values that drove it.
Okay, let's unpack that. Let's jump right into maybe the first hurdle lots of us hit. We learn these techniques, right? Like STAR methods, structured storytelling, situation, conflict, resolution, all that. But when we use them, it can feel, like you're an actor reading lines, a bit rehearsed. Inauthentic, maybe.
That is exactly the authenticity paradox. You've got the mechanics down, but you haven't infused you into it yet. It's the difference between focusing externally versus internally. So say you're telling a story about fixing a big software bug. The external focus is just, okay, here's the bug, here's the code I wrote. That's just data.
Right, data. But the internal focus, that's the real story, isn't it? The part that actually connects with people. It's asking, okay, what was the human experience here? Was it the frustration, maybe 3 nights with no sleep, or that fear of letting the client down, or maybe just that amazing aha moment when it finally worked?
Exactly. That small shift.
Yeah.
It turns a dry, technical thing into a story about grit, about resilience, about your passion for solving puzzles. People connect with that, with your passion, your struggles, your values, much more than just the technical details.
Okay. But isn't that a bit risky? Professionally, talking about feelings, when I sound, unprofessional, too soft. Especially if I'm talking to, say, leadership, how do you balance being authentic with, maintaining authority?
That's a really critical question. And it's where our sources bring in this idea of the relatability formula. Look, it's not about oversharing your whole life story. Yeah. It's about targeted transparency. So when you're communicating, especially about something you achieved, you're subtly hitting 3 points. 1, what you actually do, the task. 2, what you care about, the underlying value. And 3, how it makes you feel, your drive, your motivation.
Okay, give me a quick example. Make it concrete.
Right. So imagine a colleague asks what you worked on last week. Instead of just saying, I optimized the cloud storage, full stop, you could add something like, I optimized the cloud storage infrastructure because, honestly, reducing waste and boosting efficiency, that's something I really care about. It's a core value for me. And seeing those metrics actually drop, that kind of made my week. See? You've shown competence and conviction. No personal drama needed.
I see. So confidence isn't this shield you put up, this invulnerability thing. It's actually the strength to lower the shield just a little bit. Let people see the real motivated person there.
It does require some vulnerability, but it's calculated vulnerability. Let's call it that. And honestly, it builds trust way faster than just rattling off bullet points.
Okay. Speaking of connection, let's pivot. Nurturing that first spark. You have a great chat at a conference, right? That's just planting the seed, the follow-up. That's the watering can. So how do we follow up well without feeling like, oh God, I'm bothering them or I sound needy?
I guess, the art of the follow-up. And the sources really stress this. Be prompt, ideally, like within 24 hours, while you're still fresh in their mind. This changes the whole feel from, I need something from you, to, hey, I was thinking of our conversation. We use a pretty simple 3-part formula. It's designed to position you as, well, generous and resourceful.
Okay, let's walk through those 3 parts. What's in this email or message?
Part 1, pretty straightforward, the context cue. Just remind them where you met. Simple as, hi, Sarah, it was great meeting you yesterday near the coffee station at the Innovation Summit. Don't assume they remember you instantly out of everyone they met.
Makes sense. Basic courtesy, really. What's part 2? You said it was crucial.
Yes, the specific callback. This is vital. You have to mention something specific you talked about. It proves you were actually listening. You were present, not just, grabbing cards. It could be, I really enjoyed our chat about AI ethics in UX design, or maybe, I'm still thinking about that hilarious story you told about your first day. Something concrete.
That detail, yeah, that shows massive respect, doesn't it? It says you valued the actual conversation.
Precisely. And then part 3 is where you really cement your value, the value add, or maybe a gentle next step. You offer something, ideally with no strings attached. Could be an article you mentioned, a link, maybe connecting them with someone relevant.
But what if I don't have an article handy? Or contact right then? Does the follow-up just fizzle out if I can't offer some tangible thing?
No, not at all. The value add can simply be the gentle offer to continue the chat. Low pressure. Like, I'd love to continue our conversation on AI ethics sometime. Would you be open to maybe a quick 15-minute virtual coffee next week? See? You're offering your time, your interest. That's valuable too. The key is you're initiating it as a giver, not a taker.
That completely reframes it. So the best networkers aren't just collectors. They're targeted givers, resourceful people. You stop worrying about sounding needy if your whole focus is just being helpful.
Exactly. It triggers reciprocity instantly, and it boosts how people see both your competence and your generosity. It's a win-win.
Okay, let's shift now to maybe the toughest situations our sources cover. How do you keep this confident, clear approach when the pressure is really, really high? I mean, situations that honestly terrify people, giving tough performance feedback, or asking for that big raise.
Right. For these, you absolutely need solid frameworks. Confidence here comes from being clear, calm, constructive. Take feedback. The simple fact is, most people avoid giving difficult feedback at all costs, which is actually a huge failure of leadership and confidence. The only way through is using a structure that strips out the emotional accusation.
And that structure is the Situation Behavior Impact Framework, SBI.
Yes, it's essential because it anchors everything in objective, observable facts. No judgment, just focusing on the work. So first, situation. State the specific when and where. In our team meeting this morning, clear context. Second, describe the specific observable behavior. This has to be verifiable. You don't say you were rude, that's interpretation. You say you interrupted me 3 times while I was presenting the data. Factual.
Right. Something a video camera could record, not your opinion of it.
Exactly. And third, you state the impact. Explain the consequence on the project, the team, maybe you personally. And the impact was I lost my train of thought and the team didn't get the full picture on point 2. You're directly linking action to result, measurable result.
Yeah, that's incredibly hard to argue with. Because you're not attacking their character, you're just asking for a change in behavior for better results.
That clarity. That's what gives you the confidence walking into that tough conversation. You're armed with facts, not feelings or accusations.
Okay. Now let's tackle the other big one. Asking for a raise. You said you can't just ask for it like it's a gift. You reframe it. It's a business case.
Absolutely. And a business case needs evidence, which means the prep work starts months, maybe even a year before the conversation. You need what some call a victory log or maybe a brag document. Basically, a running list of your quantifiable achievements. This is your confidence foundation.
And when you say quantifiable, you mean real numbers, right? Not just, I helped improve things.
Precisely. Not, I improved efficiency, but I redesigned the onboarding process, cutting training hours for new hires by 30%. Or I led the X project implementation, which saved the company $8,000 a year in server costs. That's the language the business understands. Data.
So you walk in armed with that data. That's your strength. And you use it to make the ask clearly. Based on my performance and the value delivered, like X and Y, I'm requesting a salary adjustment to state the specific number. Okay, but the real confidence test. What happens when they say no or not right now?
Right. That's where your confident professional response comes in. You instantly pivot. Turn that no into a roadmap. Critically, you don't get emotional, don't get defensive. You ask calmly, okay, I appreciate the context. Could you help me understand what specific skills?
Yeah.
or measurable achievements I'd need to demonstrate over, say, the next 6 to 12 months to be in a stronger position for this kind of increase.
Wow, that's a powerful move. It shows real professional maturity.
Yeah.
And it kind of forces them to define the path for you, doesn't it? Instead of leaving you guessing, it turns a potential setback into an actual action plan.
It completely changes the conversation. It goes from being about money, which can be tense, to being about development, mentorship almost, and that's always productive.
Okay, shifting gears one last time. Let's talk about that X factor, charisma. Some people just seem to have it, but our sources suggest it's not magic. It's learnable, a combination of two specific things.
That's the big reveal from social psychology, yeah. Charisma is a learnable skill, and it fundamentally breaks down into projecting two key qualities, warmth and competence. You need to project both, like in abundance.
Okay, let's define those. Competence. That sounds like your skills, your track record, your resume, basically.
Pretty much. Competence is the power side.
Yeah.
It's your expertise, speaking clearly, being prepared, strong posture, all the things that make people believe you're capable. It's what makes people respect you.
And warmth, then, is the relational side, how you connect.
Exactly. Warmth is presence. Approachability. It's things like active listening, making genuine eye contact, smiling, using people's names, showing empathy. It's what makes people like you, trust you on a personal level.
And the charisma, that spark, only happens when you blend both perfectly. Like if you're all competence, you're maybe respected but cold, unapproachable, the brilliant jerk.
Right.
And if you're all warmth, you're friendly, everyone likes you, but maybe they don't trust you with the really critical stuff.
You nailed it.
Yeah.
You need both to be seen as simultaneously trustworthy and engaging. That's the magic combination. And this actually leads to maybe the most advanced technique the sources mentioned for charisma. Speak with conviction, but hold your beliefs lightly. Meaning you're strong in your points, your data is solid, you present with confidence, but you're genuinely open to changing your mind if better evidence comes along.
Ah, okay. That's that intellectual humility piece. Passionate, but not dogmatic. It's like having a strong back, but a soft front.
Exactly. It shows confidence in what you know now and also confidence in your ability to learn and adapt, which is incredibly charismatic.
So, wrapping this all up, what does this mean for you, the listener, moving forward? We've gone from the philosophy of connection and stories right down to the nuts and bolts of tough talks. The core message seems to be advanced communication takes preparation, being present, being genuinely interested in others, and being brave enough to show your real motivations.
Yeah, you really now have a detailed toolkit. We've talked through the authenticity paradox, connecting stories to feelings. You've got the context callback value formula for much more effective networking follow-ups. You have the SBI framework to deliver difficult feedback cleanly, professionally. You know how to build and present a business case for career talks, like raises. And you understand that warmth and competence aren't magic. They're the dual engines you need for charisma.
So the challenge for you now is, where do you start? Which tool do you pick up first? Is it being more intentionally authentic next time you're in a team meeting? Is it finally mastering that follow-up email? Or maybe it's time to start that victory log for the conversation you know you need to have. Just pick one thing. Start small.
Yeah.
Maybe even today.
And here's a final thought, maybe something provocative to carry with you. Think about the last time you were in a high-stakes communication situation and it felt off, like your message didn't quite land. Ask yourself, which of those two charismatic qualities, warmth or competence, do you think was missing? Or maybe wasn't projected strongly enough in that moment? Just focusing on strengthening that one area in your prep for next time, that alone could fundamentally change how you're perceived. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're going a bit deeper than usual. We're moving past the techniques, the frameworks.
Right, the how-to of the conversation itself.
Exactly. We're digging into the internal work, the stuff you need for real, solid confidence when you communicate. This is really for you, the listener. If you've ever done all the prep work, you followed the script for giving tough feedback perfectly.
You were calm, clear, respectful, the whole checklist.
Yes, but then the other person just reacts badly, they get defensive, or maybe they just shut down completely.
Or miss the point entirely.
Yeah, and you walk away feeling awful. Like somehow you failed, even though you know logically you handled your part really well.
That exact moment, that feeling of, I did everything right, why did it go wrong? That's where most people get stuck.
Okay.
But it's also the jumping off point for becoming a truly great communicator. So our mission today is to help you build what we call a resilient communication mindset.
Resilient communication mindset. I like that.
Yeah. It's all about how you handle things after the conversation's done, how you process that outcome so your sense of self, your confidence stays intact no matter what happened.
Okay, let's unpack that right away.
Yeah.
Because the biggest trap, I think, is judging how well we did based on how the other person reacted. It feels natural, though.
Oh, completely. It's human nature. They react well. We feel great. Like, yes, I nailed it.
And if they react badly,
Then we beat ourselves up. Right. Spend days replaying it, thinking, what could I have said differently? What do I do wrong?
yes, been there.
And relying on that external validation, it's a recipe for burnout. The key idea here, and it's a bit radical, is that true confidence means you have to fundamentally detach your sense of success from the outcome.
Detach from the outcome. Okay, that sounds maybe a little risky. Like, if I detach, does that mean I stop caring if my message lands? Isn't the point usually to, influence or create change?
That's a great question. And yes, the intention is absolutely about positive influence. But here's the crucial difference. You can influence the outcome. You prepare, you deliver clearly, respectfully.
You do your best.
Right. But you can never fully control it. You just can't. Think about it. Their mood, their history, their insecurities, what happened to them 5 minutes before you talked.
All outside your control.
Totally outside. The only thing you actually control is your input, your actions, your words, your intentions.
So we need to redefine success. Shift the focus.
Exactly. Stop asking, did I get the result I wanted? And start asking, did I show up the way I intended to? Success becomes answering yes to your internal standards. Like, was I clear? Was I honest? Was I respectful? Did I really listen openly? If you can honestly say yes to those,
then you were successful.
Full stop. If they reacted defensively, well, that's on them to manage. It doesn't mean your communication failed.
That's a big mental shift. It takes effort.
Yeah.
Because our ego wants that external thumbs up.
Right. It really does. It means walking away from maybe a really tense, negative interaction and still feeling okay inside, still feeling that sense of integrity.
Okay, so how do we make that practical? How do we actually build that resilience?
Well, there's a tool we recommend. It's for right after those tough conversations. We call it the integrity audit.
The integrity audit. Okay, tell me more. What does it involve?
It's basically a quick self-reflection built around 3 core questions. They help reinforce that internal standard we just talked about.
Second question
First, do I communicate with clear intention? And this is crucial. What was your real motive? Was it genuinely constructive? Were you trying to align, clarify, solve a problem together? Or deep down, was it maybe about proving you were right? Or venting frustration? Or even sort of punishing them a little? If the core intention wasn't constructive, the whole thing was kind of flawed from the start.
Wow. Okay, that required some real honesty with yourself. What's the second pillar?
Second, did I communicate with respect? And this one can be tricky. It means genuinely trying to hear their side, validating their perspective, even if you completely disagree with it.
So respect isn't the same as agreement.
Not at all. It's acknowledging their viewpoint matters, that their experience is valid for them. It's about basic human dignity in the conversation.
Okay, intention, respect, and the third.
Third, did I communicate with honesty? Was I true to the core message I needed to deliver? Was I true to myself?
Right. Now, here's where I sometimes see a conflict. What if being really honest, say, telling someone their project just didn't meet the standard, feels like it clashes with being respectful? How do you balance those?
That's where the nuance comes in. That's communication maturity. Honesty doesn't mean brutality.
Good distinction.
Honesty is about the core message, the facts. Respect is about the how, the delivery. So you have to be honest. The project didn't meet the objectives, but you deliver that truth respectfully.
Yeah.
Maybe by focusing on the process, not the person. Framing it constructively. Talking about lessons learned. Allowing them space to respond without feeling attacked. When honesty is filtered through genuine respect and a constructive invention, they actually work together.
Okay, that makes sense. So the integrity audit, clear intention, respect, honesty. If you can tick those boxes, even if the conversation went sideways,
Then you maintained your integrity.
Yeah.
You showed up as intended. That builds that inner resilience, that core self-respect that doesn't get shaken by external reactions.
right, you played your part well. Okay, let's zoom out a bit, because confidence isn't just about getting through one tough talk, is it? It's about the long game, your reputation.
Absolutely. Every single interaction, whether it feels big or small, contributes to how people see you, how much they trust you. It all adds up.
So it's like building something over time.
Exactly. Think of it like a reputational bank account. Every conversation, every interaction is either a deposit or a withdrawal.
I like that. A deposit builds goodwill, trust.
And a withdrawal drains it. If you're always focused on just winning the argument or what's in it for you right now, you'll find that account gets empty pretty fast.
Which brings us to this idea of social capital, that invisible currency. Trust, influence, people wanting to help you out. How do we consciously build that? How do we make those deposits?
Well, the biggest deposits, the ones that have the most impact, almost always happen when your focus is on adding value to others, not yourself. There are 3 key practices we see work really well here.
Okay, let's hear them. What's the first one?
First, be a connector. This is about actively looking for ways to link 2 people who could genuinely benefit from knowing each other. And crucially, doing it without expecting anything back for yourself.
So it's more strategic than just like introducing friends at a party.
Oh, much more. Think about it in a work context. Maybe you know someone looking for a specific skill set, and you know someone else who has that skill and is maybe looking for new projects. Or maybe a manager notices the product team needs beta testers, right? And the operations team wants some real-world cross-functional training for their new folks. The manager makes the introduction. Hey, product lead, operations has some sharp new people who could give you fresh eyes. Ops lead, this is a great low-risk way for your team to learn the product side. Boom. You've created value for 2 other people, maybe solve problems for both, just by making a smart connection.
And that reflects really well on you, even though it wasn't about you. That's a huge deposit.
A huge deposit. It shows you're thinking broadly, systemically, and generously. Okay, second practice.
Let's hear it.
Second, be an amplifier. Use your own voice, your own platform, your own credibility to lift other people up, especially, and this is key, when they're not in the room to hear it.
So championing others behind their backs in a good way.
Exactly. It shows you're not threatened by other people's success, which is frankly a hallmark of real confidence.
So instead of subtly downplaying someone else's win,
you actively highlight it. Imagine you're in a meeting, maybe presenting a report, someone more junior prepared. They're not there.
Okay.
Instead of just relaying the data, you pause and say, look, before we dive in, I just want to say the quality of this analysis is really down to Sarah's work. She did an exceptional job on the market segmentation here.
Right. That boosts Sarah's reputation.
Massively. And it shows your character, loyalty, generosity, value, and contribution over just grabbing the credit. People notice that. Big deposit.
Okay. Connector, amplifier. What's the third way to build that social capital?
Third, be a rememberer. And this goes beyond just remembering names, though that's important too.
Okay.
It's about remembering the details, the small things, the milestones in people's professional or even personal lives where appropriate. It taps into that fundamental human need to feel seen and acknowledged.
So moving beyond the generic, hey, how's it going?
Yeah. Way beyond. Before you meet someone, maybe take 30 seconds. Glance at their LinkedIn profile. Recall your last conversation. Did they mention a big project wrapping up, a work anniversary, maybe their kid graduating? Then you start the conversation with that, not just jumping into business, but hey, before we start, congrats on finishing that huge platform migration. I know that was months of work. Or happy work anniversary, 5 years, that's fantastic.
That feels much more personal. It shows you're paying attention.
It communicates. I see you. You're not just a role or a task to me. You matter. That kind of personal touch, you can really cut through the noise and build genuine connection, genuine capital. It turns transactions into relationships.
Connector, amplifier, rememberer, those are really practical ways to build that long-term trust. Okay, let's shift gears slightly for our last segment. This is something I've often noticed.
Go on.
In really high-stakes situations or difficult conversations, sometimes the person who seems the most confident, the most, well, powerful, is the one who says the least. Why is that? Why is silence sometimes the ultimate tool?
Yes. This brings us to what I think is really the pinnacle of confident communication, understanding the power of presence and holding space.
Holding space. I've heard that term. What does it actually mean, especially in a professional setting? Is it just like listening quietly?
It's more active than just quiet listening. Holding space is about consciously creating like a zone of safety, non-judgmental, uninterrupted presence.
Okay.
Where the other person feels truly safe enough to think, to feel, to process, to speak their truth without you jumping in.
Because our instinct, especially if someone seems upset or struggling, is to fix it.
Right.
right? Offer advice. Oh, you should do this, or have you tried that?
Exactly. And that impulse, that need to be the rescuer or the problem solver, it actually shuts down the other person's process. It subtly says, I don't trust you to figure this out.
So holding space is the opposite.
It's doing the opposite. You have to consciously suppress your ego's need to jump in. Instead, you offer maybe a simple validating statement, something like, wow, that sounds really difficult, or I can understand why you'd feel that way.
And
then silence, just genuine attentive silence, soft eye contact, open body language. You're listening with your whole being, not just your ears.
what does the silence do?
It creates a vacuum because you haven't interrupted, you haven't offered a quick fix, the other person feels safe, and they tend to fill that silence not with more surface level stuff, but with the deeper issue, the real thing that's going on underneath. Often the clarity they need emerges within that space you've held for them.
That takes a lot of internal confidence, doesn't it? To just sit in that silence, trusting the process.
Immense confidence, because you have to let go of controlling the conversation. You have to trust the other person.
Yeah.
Your presence, your non-judgmental quiet becomes the catalyst for their insight.
How might this look differently in, say, a tense team meeting versus a one-on-one?
Great question. In a one-on-one, it's that deep listening after validation. In a team meeting, maybe two people are getting heated, talking past each other.
Yeah, happens all the time.
Instead of jumping in to take sides or shut it down forcefully, the leader holding space might interrupt gently and say, okay, hold on, I'm hearing strong feelings from both sides here. Let's take 30 seconds of silence for everyone to breathe and really process what's been said before anyone responds.
So you use silence to reset the room's energy.
Exactly. You create a pocket of presence. It shifts the dynamic from reactivity to reflection. It requires you to prioritize the group's processing over your own need for immediate resolution. Your presence becomes the solution.
Wow. Okay, this feels like it ties everything together.
Yeah.
From managing our own internal reactions to building long-term reputation to finally just being truly present for others.
It does. And we can actually bring all these ideas together into a kind of navigational tool. We call it the Confident Communicator's Compass.
The compass. Okay, I like that. What are the points?
4 key directions to orient yourself in any interaction, making sure you're always measuring success by your integrity, not just the immediate outcome.
Okay, give me north.
North is authenticity. Ask yourself, is this true to who I really am? Are my words aligned with my values?
Makes sense. East.
East is curiosity. Am I genuinely trying to understand the other person, their perspective of the situation? Or am I just waiting to make my point? Am I asking real questions?
Good one. South.
South is resilience. Am I anchored in my integrity, using that audit we talked about? Am I detached enough from the outcome to handle whatever happens? Can I bounce back?
Right. Focusing on your input. And finally, west.
West is generosity. Am I actively looking for ways to add value here? To connect people? To amplify others? Am I thinking about building that long-term social capital?
Authenticity, curiosity, resilience, generosity. North, east, southwest. That's a really clear framework.
If you keep those 4 points in mind, you start shifting from just being someone who talks well to being someone people genuinely trust, respect, and actually want to listen to.
Yeah, I can see that. Our goal today really was to give you those internal tools to help you unlock that confident, resilient communicator that honestly is probably already inside you.
Exactly. And maybe just needs these frameworks to come out. So, for a final thought, a challenge for you this week. Don't try to master all 4 compass points at once. That's just overwhelming.
Right. Paralysis by analysis.
Yeah. Instead, just pick one. Authenticity, curiosity, resilience, or generosity. Pick the one that resonates most, or maybe the one you feel weakest in. And then just focus on that one thing for the next week. Look for one small, intentional opportunity each day to practice just that principle. Make one conscious deposit in that area.
That feels manageable. Small steps lead to real change.
That's how real growth happens, not overnight, but through consistent, focused intention.
Brilliant. Well, that's all the time we have for this deep dive. Thank you so much for walking us through this.
My pleasure.
And thank you for listening. Keep practicing, keep growing that resilient mindset, and we'll talk to you again soon.